Thank you all for coming today. Welcome to The Pillars. We are a community-led space aimed at supporting projects and educating our investors for intelligent and meaningful conversations. Here we ask the tough questions you all want answered. Now, let me introduce to you our today's guest. We got a double whammy here, basically. He is not just a project founder, but of course also a very, very successful YouTuber. Our guest today is CryptoRick with he has over 160,000, 140,000, sorry, close to 150,000 subscribers. So that's also what I'm going to share in a second. His YouTube channel. So you guys also make sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel and also give him some love there. But today it's not the usual influence interview because CryptoRick is today here to represent his new project that has just launched 1 week ago. Actually, I think exactly 1 week ago, and we're gonna talk about all of that if that's in relation to that. But a little quick introduction to what LiquiShare is. LiquiShare is a token that, funnily enough, in our token channel, our personal token caller, Oscar, has also called it to the community as a good investment opportunity. And as you know, Oscar, he has a very good track record. So this might be a gem for you guys if you like what you hear today. LiquiShare is a token that you already can trade on very normally on PancakeSwap against BNB, of course. And it's not only just a token that you can trade. Of course, as per every token, you can provide liquidity. And you can also stake your LP tokens for more LiquiShare tokens. The reason for that is LiquiShare aims to be a decentralized community-led project, basically, where the liquidity is in the hands of the community of the investors. And so that aims with that aim that it's proving it of whales that are draining liquidity. So this is a very interesting concept. So I'm curious to hear these guys talk it out and go more in depth with that project. And of course, as you can see, we have a huge giveaway happening. I've shared in the community questions channel all the links, which I'm going to share again. So please make sure to jump into the Telegram. Make sure to hit follow on the Twitter page. And yeah, that's it from me. I hope everyone enjoys.
Rick, sir, how you doing? As David said, and thank you, David, for that wonderful intro. As David said, it's a pleasure to have you in. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I appreciate you guys bringing me in today. Looking forward to it.
Yes, me too. It's going to be an exciting conversation. Not only because I enjoy talking to people that create projects, but also you're one of the first, if not actually, you are the first token that's come through our doors that's been called by Oscar, who now has a call channel with us. I'm going to flip the conversation on its head a little bit to what our community and people listening are used to. Typically, I'd ask you to give you an intro on you, but there is a method to this madness. So I'm going to skip that bit for now and ask you to dive straight into what LiquiShare is, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So first of all, LiquiShare is kind of like a culmination of some stuff I've tested on some previous projects of the bear market because, I really do like to bring something different rather than just a meme token. Memes are fun, they're cool plays, but I personally believe developers should develop and they should build stuff and not just copycat and make cookie cutter projects. So I'm a huge fan of not just adoption, but also of decentralization. And at its core, these decentralized exchanges are being misused. Hence the rugs, and hence the scams, and hence all of these things that are happening. The whole point of a decentralized exchange was for the community to be able to provide liquidity, get rewarded for providing liquidity, which then creates a decentralized way of trading so no project owner can just up and leave with everything. That's really not what happens because the rewards on things like Uniswap and PancakeSwap by themselves are just not very exciting. There's impermanent loss. There's all these reasons. So I was trying to find a way to really get a project into the community's hands. So I kind of have done staking and farming and things like that in the past with previous projects. So I was thinking, you know what? Why don't we really kind of do a social experiment of sorts here and say the LP tokens are now going to be community owned, meaning nobody, no single entity is going to own the liquidity of this project. So you get tokens, you can stake those tokens, and you earn the LP tokens, making you a true owner of the project. Then you can either A, hold those LP tokens, you can even cash those LP tokens out, or you can farm those LP tokens by staking them and then earning more LiquiShare tokens, kind of making a compounding cycle, so to speak. So at its core, it's decentralization. That's really what crypto is supposed to be about. And it's also by kind of building a community in that meme sense, but also doing it with a true utility and giving them more ownership than they get just because they're quote unquote shilling their bags of some meme coin. So that's really what drove me to create this.
Great, thank you. And how many tokens are there? What is the max supply on this?
100,000 max supply.
Now, immediately there's going to be people who are going to say, okay, there might be some issues with this. There might be some things that we need to try and pick holes in if we can. And I know that you're someone who is looking forward to the robust questions. And I see one of the comments that is brought up straight away, which is, one will feed the other until it doesn't. And that will be the perception on what this token is. So when you hear comments like that, what kind of pushback are you looking to give them?
Yeah, that can go with any project anywhere. If somebody stops purchasing a token and only sells it, the project dies, right? That's not specific or unique to any project. Every single project requires volume. There is no lying about that. There is no hiding that, right? So the volume and the creation of new LP tokens will actually create more rewards. So creating of more rewards, we actually have a custom built token staking and farming pool that I've never seen anybody else do that actually recycles and resets every 24 hours, updates the APY with all the new tokens added in accordingly, and never stops going. So a lot of other staking pools out there are 30-day, 60-day, 90-day staking pools, and when they're over, and they have to create a new staking pool. This is self-sustainable as long as the volume and tokens are there to continue the rewards. So yes, you are correct. I'm not going to try to shy away from that, but anybody that tries to come up with some story saying that their project can go to $100 million without volume is lying to you, right? And that's not what I'm here to do.
Okay, great. And I mean, volume is something that we're going to get onto, and it's going to be very interesting to hear how you are going to try and drive that volume. In terms of it being a community token, you want the community to own the liquidity. What are your expectations from your community? When somebody comes to buy your token, are you wanting them to maybe just trade it? Are you wanting them to stake? What to you is the best way for a person to approach LiquiShare?
So I think the beauty of crypto as a whole is it doesn't matter what I think, right? I want everybody to have the options to treat this platform how they want to treat it. In a perfect world, you would buy it, you would stake it, you would farm it, you would use all the features of the ecosystem, but by design, I have no fees to stake and unstake. I have no lockup periods. The point of crypto is independence, is freedom. If you start having lockup periods and all these little asterisks letting you know that you're not really as free as you think you are to utilize the platform the way you feel is the right way to utilize it, then this isn't what crypto is made to be at its core. So to me, whatever people's idea of the right way to use it, that is the right way to use it.
Okay. And typically when we're talking about something like this, especially when there's a LP involved and there's farming involved, one of the issues that might crop up is that people that got in early and were able to start farming at very high percentages are going to be well ahead of anybody that comes in after them. And therefore volume is going to be very important. And again, so we're going to get onto that. Is that a fear of yours? Is that something that you were cognizant about when you were launching this, that you knew people were going to perhaps get in a little bit earlier than others as people hear about it, and therefore they're just going to get a bigger slice of the pie? And what really gets put in place to ensure that kind of person doesn't suddenly wreck the price if and when they want to exit.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So it's controlled rewards. Quite frankly, I didn't put every single LP token directly into the rewards from day one for that reason. So we do have a bunch of LP tokens that will be added in systematically, strategically along time to keep the APY exciting, but also not so juicy where you're giving total control to one or two whales that can kind of steer the project. So the beauty of what we're doing is, I'm here, I'm on camera, I'm a well-known person. So there's a lot of the quote unquote risk factors of people running off is kind of eliminated. But that is also a learning curve for new eyes, right? So I recognize that as probably my largest hurdle is people are going to see this project doesn't have locked liquidity. Right. So that's
Right.
going to be a red flag. And hopefully over time, it becomes less and less of a red flag as the word gets out. So I'm even strategically thinking like, do I lock 10% of the liquidity that we have to potentially make them see a token lock, and just for that initial optics. So there are things like that that I'm looking into to see what makes the most sense long term for us. But absolutely, it's something I was 100% aware of and focused on, and that's why at the core I had a private sale. We had about 35 or 40 investors in our private sale. And it was people that have followed me from project to project that knew they could trust me and that I knew I could trust them to hold. So if you've taken a look at the LiquiShare chart, it kind of speaks for itself as far as the people that got into the private sale, right? There's not many launch charts that look like this. Usually it's that initial pump and then the huge dump because everybody's taking their profits. But we were very, very cautious about how many random people we let into the private sale simply because I knew the certain people knew my track record and wouldn't just sell for 20%, 30%, or even what we're at 300% profit now. And the private sellers are staked and holding and really just doing what they've got to do to hold up their end of the bargain.
Right. I'm glad you keep bringing it back to the people that you brought in, people that trust you. And one of the interesting things, and it's something that I figured might happen with a conversation like this, is that the LiquiShare token itself and how it works is not, I'm not going to call it simple because I'm not wanting to insult anybody in its mechanics, I'm certain, but it's simple in its concept and simple in its delivery so far. And with that simplicity are a limited amount of questions that can be asked beyond the typical usual ones that I've already asked. So then it starts circling to, well, who is Rick and why should we buy into Rick? Because at the end of the day, you are the person now who's going to be the face of this. And you're saying, I get people that trust me. I'm on camera. I'm a well-known person in this space. I've got a reputation with 149,000 followers. And I think that's what makes up LiquiShare more than anything that you've implemented in terms of tokenomics. So who is Rick? Talk to me about yourself. What was your journey into crypto?
Man, crypto journey was a wild one. I'm like many people and wish I got in a few years earlier, right? But I've been doing this now since 2017, and I actually created my YouTube channel in 2017. I kind of had that aha moment. I never created any content for any reason prior to making my YouTube channel for crypto, but it was one of those things where I was making money quickly in this space because lucky for me, I got in during a bull market like most people do, right? We always get in towards the top for the first time. So
Right.
that was one of the things that people were doing was asking me questions about, how are you doing it? What are you doing? How's this? What's that? So I started making little quick how-to videos just because I kept getting sick and tired of answering the same questions 1,000 times. And that kind of just morphed into what it turned into as a review channel. I liked looking at new projects. I really like hunting stuff. But what really hurt me was I love crypto. I love decentralization, but it made me sick to my stomach when I started seeing all the scams and the rug pulls. And that started in 2017 with the whole ICO phase and the lending coins and all those things that for people who were around at that time. That's really when I was like, it's kind of disgusting. There's a gross side to this as well. So I quickly started finding a team of developers and was able to, within the next 2 years or so, launch my first project. And really what every project I've ever done has one promise and one promise only. I'm not going to rug you. That's the only promise I can give you. I can't give you a promise of 100x or 2x or 500. I can't promise price, right? I can't promise anything besides a fair shot at success. I promise that I'll get myself on camera and do my part to get the name out there, and that you're at least safe to play, safe to invest, safe to trust in the project. So every single project I touch has that at its core. Everything else, let's face it, a lot of this is up to the communities that jump in. If we're going to be real, no team by themselves can make a project boom. There's a lot of luck that comes in, hard work, development, all of those things. But then again, you see meme coins with zero development, barely even a website, going to 100 million because of one reason, and that's the community. So trying to build a community of people behind me that know that they can at least go to sleep on their investment, right? That's really it. And it's really something I take pride in when I launch a token and it doesn't have that first night dip. Every other project, if something launches, you always wait till the middle of the night to buy that dip because it's going to happen. If you look at this project and my recent projects in the past, that doesn't happen. And that tells me that that message is resonating with at least a core group of people. So I want to be able to make that group of people larger, because the more we get that type of support behind us, the more we can start changing this space for the good. There are good developers out there. There are. I have a few that I actually follow from project to project as well. So just being somebody who has that community really at heart is what I'm all about, and just giving people again a fair and safe way to play in this wild west world we live in.
Great, thank you. And I love speaking to content creators and KOLs, especially ones that sit in front of the camera, because they often give such wonderfully comprehensive answers that I've got to really use my brain to remember a lot of what you said and dial into as much as I can. So I'm going to try and that's all right. I love it. I think it's great. It keeps me on my toes, and it's really useful for anybody listening. And it tells a lot about you. And there was a lot that you said. I love the fact that the word team cropped up several times, and you referred to your community as team, and we will get to that. But if we circle back to when this all became a full-time gig for you, is it a full-time gig at the moment? And what was that from a personal standpoint transition like for you?
Yeah, so 2017 again is when I started. It wasn't full time right out of the gate, never is for anybody, right? I had had a baby girl, so I got some time alone, right? I was taking the night shifts for my wife at the time because with my new baby, so I was able to really dive in for a few months. Went back to work for a while, and then quit my job like a fool right before the bear market hit.
Right.
So come back, tail between my legs, go back to working like a regular old person, and then repeat the cycle. Next bull market, I was doing very well. My YouTube blew up, which is a good thing. Let's just call that what it is. That those sponsored videos are important to us YouTubers. I'll just be again 100% transparent with you guys. So that helped a lot and put me in a position where I could really make this my full focus. So between YouTube, between trading, between creating projects, which usually honestly creating a project is an expense for me, more than making money. Again, I know, weird, but I really do take a lot of what I make on the trading side of things and the sponsored videos and things of that nature from the other stuff, and put that into creating a project. For anybody who's ever created a project, you know how crazy expensive it is to do it right, to do it sustainably, to pay for marketing. It's absolutely insane. So when you start doing the math of how much money's coming in for these projects versus how much is going out, I'm always investing more into these projects than I'm actually taking out. So, and that's okay, because again, it comes down to providing something safe for the community, because I know what that means long term. That's going to drive more people to the YouTube channel. That's going to drive more people to make money. And if I can help others get to the point financially where I am, that's a huge win for me. So, there's a little bit of selfishness by being selfless, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And it was actually going to be my next question. I was going to comment that nobody wants to, of course, lose money on projects like this forever. So there must be a master plan. And you don't necessarily have to say what it is right this second, but there must be a master plan of where you're headed, and where you think you're going to be perhaps at the end of this year as the bull cycle this year is really in full swing.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a master plan, right? And the master plan is not just one project. I truly like ecosystems. I like when multiple projects work together, whether am in the face of all of them or not, right? I really I believe in growing the community and finding people, projects, developers with that whole like-minded mindset, and we can kind of come together and realize you are stronger together in this space, fighting off those scams and those spammers and all the things that we deal with on an everyday basis. So finding good people in this space and using those relationships to grow, that is the end goal, whether that's for LiquiShare and only LiquiShare or LiquiShare and some other projects down the line is yet to be seen. But at the core, it's a way for me to meet new people around the world that I would have never had an opportunity to meet before, right? Different cultures, different ways of life. That stuff to me is super exciting. I really, really enjoy that aspect of crypto, and being able to do so in a way that you can literally watch somebody change their lives. There's people in the Philippines who have sent me pictures, right? Because they've paid for their weddings and their houses and things like that with projects that I created. So that feels so good. So to be able to do that on a grander scale, now full transparency, I buy into my projects as well, right? I do. Anybody
Right.
that doesn't do that doesn't believe in their project. So I do have wallets that I will trade in my project, right? Not in a malicious or vindictive way, but in a way that will help sustain the cash flow to continue investing in this project, right? They require consistent money, and let's face it, the tax isn't going to do it, and especially when the majority of the tax goes to liquidity.
Strength in numbers is key. And I love the fact that you invest in your own project. I think that's paramount. I agree with you. If you don't invest in your own project, you don't believe in it. But that strength in numbers is interesting because you say you've cultivated a culture of people that trust you because of your own actions. But also, I suppose you're going to have to whittle down who it is that you give access to what it is that you're doing. Because every now and again, I'm certain there's going to be someone that crops up that doesn't do things in the way that you perhaps would like them to. They don't support you in the way that you need them to. And support doesn't mean don't take profit. It doesn't mean don't take money off the table. It means, I imagine, doing it in the right way, in a way that you know is not necessarily going to hurt the project too much, especially short term, while you're trying to build that momentum. What is that process for you? What does a process of elimination look like for Rick?
Yeah, process elimination is a lot of trial by fire, right? Trial and error and building. So I did track every pre-sale buyer and not just of this project, of previous projects as well. So the ones that I knew could manage their bag respectfully and responsibly got invited into this private sale, right? And then outside of that, there was only about 5 to 10 random people that we let into the private sale as well. So that was a big one. And again, had the Google form, tracked it. And to date, unless somebody dumped it during the AMA, we've only had one private sale member dump their entire bag. And it was one of those random ones, right? And
Right.
it was at like 1.5x. Like what the heck is going on? But that just goes to show you they didn't know what they were getting into. They didn't have that foundation of trust built with me or the community yet, and that's okay. That's on me for not being able to show the value and earn that trust fast enough to avoid that situation. So, I do take a lot of ownership and responsibility for things like that when they happen. It's not on the person who did it. It was me who failed to be able to show the value and build that trust and build that relationship fast enough.
I love these responses, and I can tell you're going to be a tough cookie to crack. Um, there are going to be a few cracks that I'm going to see. Let me switch gears a tiny bit. And when somebody does dump, even if they're a random person, you don't know them, does it frustrate you on a personal level? I mean, what are you thinking when that happens? And everybody is subject to some kind of an emotion, especially when they have invested time and effort, not just the time and effort to develop this one project, but all of the history backdating to when you first started that has got you to this stage. What's it like on a personal level for you when you see that red candle down? You know someone who has jumped into a private sale that you were wanting to trust has now abused that trust. How does it actually feel for you on a personal level?
So on a personal level, one of the things that I've learned over my years, not just in crypto but in life in general, is I don't know that person's situation. So I don't take it personal, because that 1.5x could have been the difference of that person feeding their kids this week or paying their rent this week. I have no idea their personal situation. I wish it wouldn't have happened, but at the same time, if that helped them do something in their life that they needed to have done, then I'm glad it happened exactly like it did.
Okay, that's fair enough. And then, again, another great response. All right, so let's talk about marketing. One of the things that we've said at the top of this is that a project like this will need volume. You're very transparent and open about that. And of course, you say, like most other tokens that manage to get to crazy market caps, of course, they need volume. Of course, they need new people coming in. And the taxes obviously feed the ecosystem as well. So buying and selling is good. Volume doesn't just come out of thin air. However, it does require marketing. And one of the things that is noticeable with what you've got going on at the moment is it's been a week. And in this world, in the weird crypto world that we live in, a week is an eternity, right? We've all aged twice over. So there'll be people sitting back going, when marketing? Why hasn't anything happened? Why haven't you thrown more at it? What are your plans for marketing? What are your plans to really drive this particular project forward?
Yeah, so right now I'm still kind of building the base, right? When I put a project out there, it's not a cash grab to see how fast I can go up to a certain market cap, regardless of what happens after that point. A lot of people just want that number next to their project so they can use that as a badge of honor in their next project to say, oh, my last project was 2 million, or my last project was 5 million. I want to talk about what this project has done and what it continues to do. So in order to do that, I strategically don't like a lot of pre-launch and even right out of the gate post-launch marketing, because it creates that huge pump up, and what follows is that huge dump down. While that's good for volume, it's only good for volume for a day or two, and then you see that flat line. Nothing is sustainable, nothing happens, nothing really thrives. So what I've been looking to do and have continued to do is just a little bit here, right? We trended yesterday on the buy bot. I have some button ads today on the shielding rating bot, just a little bit. We're getting just a little bit of traction here, a little bit of traction there, growing the holder count a little bit by day. And what that does is that helps me avoid what happened with that one private sailor. It gives us that opportunity to, on a smaller scale, get to know the people that are joining the ecosystem just a little bit better. Have them get to know us just a little bit better, so they're much less likely to dump at a 10 or 20 or 30% profit when they really see the vision of the project. There's so many people who just rotate between project and project and project and project because they're just chasing those green candles, chasing those quick gains. They're in and they're out. By kind of taking our time and building this base around us, we're slowing that down, and we're building up a group of people who truly believe in this project and that can go out there and talk about the project and explain it to people in their private chats. And by doing that, it's going to continue to organically grow. You're going to have more people coming into the chat. Even if they don't buy right away, that's okay. That's part of them building that trust. That's part of them getting to see what it's all about. Hopefully some of those people that haven't bought in and that are in our chat are sitting right here and are taking part in this conversation, or in the next AMA that I do, or the next AMA that I do. So for me, I think a lot of my marketing strategy is this right here, is real conversations with real people, letting them see and ask questions that they have without a bunch of weird emojis and gifs and whatever the hell you want to call it in those crazy meme chats. It's hype is all it is. It's just to
Right.
strive for that volume, strive for that tax, strive so they can dump those extra wallets on you. And that's not at its core what I do. And that's why for the majority of everything that I touch, they're utility plays. Not that I don't like memes. I love memes when I'm investing in them. I don't
It's
like to create memes.
okay. No, and let me just dwell on that for a second, because I interrupted you and that was a great sentence. I like memes to invest in them. I don't like to create memes. I think that's something that people should dial into a little bit, because that's quite a transparent thing to say. I like dabbling, I like playing with them. If I can make some money off them, great, but I have no interest in actually being part of a meme. And it's not common for people to say, I want to get to know my community. So actually, the slower marketing than you might be used to is deliberate so that we can all get to know one another and create a strength at the base that really holds the project up. How accessible will you be with that in mind? Are you going to be easy to contact if people wanted to contact you or another team member, if they wanted to jump in and just have a chat, ask a few questions, have a bit of a joke with you? How accessible are you?
I am on my Telegram far too much. So that is my downfall, everybody. I'm not a big Discord user, so if you want to DM me, do it on Telegram. If I don't get back to you, at me in the group, right? Because my DMs do fill up quite a bit, especially with these projects messaging for YouTube and things like that. But I am always accessible, and I'm just as transparent in the Telegram as I am here and everything else, right? I pride myself on being different in this space. Different is not bad, right? Different is when magic happens. Different is the only way you can be better than everything else happening is by doing it differently. You can't do the same as everybody else and expect to be better. You have to do it different.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I can also confirm that Discord is absolutely not Rick's strength. I had to shift to Telegram in order to be able to get a response. And that was after several pings. So, but no, I mean, you like what you like and you love what you love. If Telegram is the place where you feel most comfortable and at home, then fantastic. We touched on it a little bit in terms of there being a grand master plan. There are other things that you want to release, other opportunities as you've seen that you want to give people. How soon after this can we expect another thing to come down the pipeline? And are you able to touch a little bit on what might be kind of on the horizon as your big plan?
Yeah, I don't mind, right? I don't mind. Again, so many people out there are like, how can you talk about a future project when you already have an existing project? Because that's what developers do. That's what builders do. They're always building. Just because you have one thing doesn't mean you give one up to start another or continue on with another. So those of you that might not know, I actually had a project that ran for about 4 years. It was Kennelsphere. And this was an entire ecosystem, right? My vision was, because I love memes, but they turned into rugs because these developers have no skill set besides copying code, pasting it into Remix, launching a token, and then promising utility that they never bring. So what I wanted to do was provide an ecosystem for these meme coins to have immediate utility. So hopefully they wouldn't rug, right? So hopefully they wouldn't have to run away. And it actually was very, very successful. This last bear market really crushed a lot of things, and kind of BSC as a whole died out for a little while. It's raging again right now, luckily, but that's kind of where my head is now for my up and coming project would be more of a relaunch of this. And what this had was not just staking, not just farming. It had an NFT battle game as well that any project could join. All they had to do was supply the art, or they could hire our artists to create their NFTs. They could create their group in there, and then now they're getting free marketing, free advertising to every other ecosystem that's playing in the game as well. When people are buying and battling with their NFTs, it's creating buybacks of their token, which will then create more rewards in their staking pools. So it was an entire ecosystem designed to be self-sustainable over time, but it was really, again, heavily based on a meme play, right? It was very cartoony feel, and looking at that, I think there's a very strong opportunity because the tech was 100% custom. Our development team built it from code line one all the way through 100% themselves. There was nothing else even remotely close to it out there. So to throw that away and scrap that just doesn't make sense to me. So what I'm looking at doing here relatively soon is creating this launch pad ecosystem again, where people can launch projects, have farming, have staking, take part in an NFT battle game, have immediate utility right out of the gate, even if their skill set has nothing to do with coding. So changing the branding, changing the messaging, and kind of allowing the memes to take part, but also opening up to every other project out there. That was one of the things we saw with Kennelsphere, was a lot of projects that were coming to us were regular quote unquote utility projects that just wanted one more utility, one more way to drive volume, one more way to get their token being quote unquote used for something. So that's kind of what's on the horizon here for me. And I think that there's going to be a ton of opportunity from there for multiple launches out of that will be safe and have utility. And so there's a master plan indeed in the works, and very, very easy when something like that happens to bring LiquiShare into that ecosystem. It already has the staking, it already has the farming. We can build the NFTs and join it into the game. So that there is kind of my long-term idea for me and my team.
Great. And I'm gonna absolutely go away and listen to some of those videos, and I recommend everybody take a look at your channel. I'm sure we can throw it into the community questions if David doesn't mind, and have a listen on Kennelsphere. Also, cleverly, what it does is it is going to give you access to a bunch of different people that might not have heard about LiquiShare. So if you're bringing in all of these communities into one central spot and they're utilizing your platform, there's going to be many more eyes on this particular project and any other project that you choose to launch before that, which is only ever bullish. And it's one thing that people should, I suppose, take into consideration when they're thinking about this, especially if this is the only thing that they're interested in, because they don't obviously have to jump into every project that gets launched. But if this is something that they like, they think it's got great potential. One of the interesting things is, as you start moving towards having this deeper ecosystem and these communities together, I think it really does mean there's potential for massive upside growth. Have you ever experienced in one of your projects an exploit? And if you did, what did that look like?
Yeah, it's horrible. My first ever project, actually, it was on ETH. It was right before Kennel, and it was called Shirley the Rot. And I remember it because we had to put her down. So what happened was, it was my first project, and there was a flaw in the code. We had it audited. I paid an auditor and everything, but the programmer wasn't an in-house programmer at the time. I paid a random developer. Don't do that, guys. I paid a random developer to make something, and he forgot one of the simplest commands that there was, and it was an unintentional exploit from a community member where it minted an unbelievable amount of tokens when it wasn't supposed to be a mintable token. And this person, of course, sold, but actually, because of the community that we had built, he DM'd me, said he sold, had all the BNB, he only wanted to do it before somebody else did it, and we lost it. So had all the ETH. So he actually sent me all the ETH, and we fixed the code, had it audited by a better company, and relaunched Kennel on BSC. So that was, at its core, I got very lucky. We got very lucky as a community that the person that had the exploit was a by accident exploit, and there was enough trust and camaraderie within that community right out of the gate to not just come forward, but voluntarily send every single piece of that ETH over. Didn't ask for a reward. We did hook them up on the new launch, of course, but that to me spoke volumes, and it just reassured me in knowing that there are good people in this space. They're not all scammers. They're not all out just for themselves. And if anything, I look at that as a positive experience for me, because it showed me that keep doing what we're doing the right way. People out there do recognize it.
Right. I realize I laughed at you having to put Shirley the Rot down. That was the project and not a real dog, right? Just to double check. Because
So
if it is a real dog, I apologize.
Yeah, I got so mad I kicked her hard. No, yeah, it was just the project.
Okay, great. I'm happy there wasn't a real dog attached to that, because I would have looked like an absolute asshole at that point. I think good people tend to gravitate towards good people, and if you have an approach that is designed to do things the right way, but smart enough not to be taken advantage of, I think you're only really going to be surrounding yourself with good people. So that's probably a testament to you more than anything, that you had someone that wanted to help. What kind of lessons, though, did you take away from that? Is there anything in particular that you're putting in place to fail safe for you, for your team, and for future projects, outside of the auditing things? Is there anything that you've put in place to say, this is absolutely what I must do moving forward if I'm going to do another project, to avoid something like that happening again?
Yeah, number one thing is test everything, right? Not just you. You bring people in that are smarter than you, which for me isn't very difficult. But you bring smarter people in and have them test it, have them try to find the flaws, find the exploits and all of that. And again, one of the things that I do differently and kind of rely on myself and the trust that I can build is, if you notice, our staking contract and our farming contract are not verified on purpose. You can't exploit something if you don't see the commands. Okay, so there's checks and balances that have to be made to kind of safeguard everything. So it's so crucial to the success of me and in my projects and all of this to have my face be at the forefront, to build that trust around the project, around the community. That way, I am trusted to not verify that contract, because while anonymous devs and all these nonsense things out there have to renounce contract ownership, right? That all of a sudden that's a thing. Well, that means they're not a real developer because they never want to improve their project, right? So
Right.
all of those things that people have learned to look for and ask for are because of a lack of trust, a lack of transparency. So for me, I'm so focused on building that trust and transparency so people can understand that they're not verified for a reason. Number one reason is it's much harder to exploit something when you can't go on and just type in random stuff into the command lines on Etherscan or BSC scan, right? When you can't just go in there and interact with a contract and just keep hacking away and hacking away and hacking away until something works. If you take that opportunity away, that's a huge security win. In addition to that, this space is full of people who just copy your code and release it as their own. And my developers teams works far too hard to create customized contracts to just throw out there to the world. So we will verify a token contract, even though it's a whole lot different than a lot out there. That's no problem. Of course, we need to verify that, or every single token sniffer out there would reject it as a scam. So we're realists in that sense. But when it comes to the utilities, right, the whole NFT game that we had, everything that we had as far as utilities, none of it was verified. Number one, it's safe and secure that way. And number two, you can't just come over and take my developers' hard work that they put their time, their blood, sweat, and tears into to make work the way that they wanted. Because again, we aren't just copy and pasting somebody else's code. We're building stuff.
Right. There is something, it's being commented in the chat, there is something humbling about someone who can smile while failing, because it's through failure that you learn, actually. So it's great to see someone who can embrace failure and, keep moving forward positively. As someone who's developing things, as someone who's so passionate about this space, I know you have a project that you're going to launch. Is there I don't want to call it a vanity project. Is there something in the back of your mind that once you've hit the success you believe you can, this bull run, is there something that you will release just for the hell of it, just for fun, just to see if it actually works?
Oh man, that's a hard one. I don't like releasing anything just for the hell of it, if that makes sense, right? Because if I'm going to put something out there and I expect people to put their money into it, I need to feel confident that the idea itself is a sound idea. Hence the reason I don't like to create memes. I hate putting a meme out there and just saying buy it for no reason and then shill it and then sell it to the next person who's dumb enough to buy it. I don't like that. I want to build stuff with purpose. Now, with that in mind, there is kind of a large elephant in the room that I'm in talks with, right? I'm not sure if you guys know, I'm sure some of you do on here. Neo Tokyo, huge community, right? I got a couple buddies in the influencer space that are part of that group, and some crazy launchpad stuff has been coming out of there. So I'm thinking about, what if I put my face on a launchpad project with some of those guys, right? There could be something huge down the line with that. But again, that wouldn't just be like let's see if it works. That would be a very serious play.
That will be very exciting to see. I look forward to hearing more details on that. Surrounding yourself with people that are far smarter than yourself is one of the best ways to get ahead. And I like to try and do the very same thing. If I'm the dumbest person in the room, I'm very happy because it means I can learn. And it was someone who I consider far smarter than myself that introduced us, actually. And we spoke a little bit about, and you mentioned that you were thinking about ways by which you could lock tokens away. And I think we've perhaps achieved a very small step towards that. Because what a lot of people listening don't know is that you've actually become one of the latest Pillars portfolio partners. And you're going to give us 1% of the total supply of the tokens that we're not going to dump, because that's not how we operate here. We are going to utilize LiquiShare as it's intended to be utilized. We're going to play it in the right way, and we're going to give the rewards that we generate through LiquiShare to people that earn through the Pillars portfolio. It's going to be a very exciting moment for us, especially to work with someone who is a content creator and to work with someone whose energy, frankly, is so infectious. I love the energy that you bring into the conversation, to what it is that you're doing. And it was one of the key points that was brought forward to us whenever your name came up, is just how energetic you are and positive you are. And I think that's going to be something that's really going to be interesting for us to be a part of in some small way. And it allows us to know that we're dealing with and bringing someone in that is going to, as you say, be someone that we can trust and work with in the future as well. Someone that we can really develop a relationship with. So yeah, this is the first time people are hearing it. I'm excited for it. Can we expect to see you on Discord a tiny bit more? Are we going to be able to get you in here, once a month maybe, or once every 6 weeks to have another conversation with us?
I will come in here as frequently as you guys will have me, whether it's talk about LiquiShare, whether it's just to come in here, hang out and drink a beer with you guys, right? Because again, the projects are cool, the projects are fun, but at the end of the day, I am in crypto for the community aspect of it, to meet people around the world that I would have never met in a million years. It just wouldn't have been possible, and hence the person that introduced us, right? I would have never met him if it wasn't for crypto. So I'm much more than just a project developer. I'm much more than just a YouTuber. I am a crypto junkie at heart, through and through. So with that being said, yeah, you can tag me on the shoulder if you want me to come in as a special guest referee for when you and David are fighting. That's fine too. I'll do that.
I like that. Yeah, we have many fights, so we're going to need a referee. It's one of the things that I was very aware of when you were coming in, is because I obviously knew that you were going to be part of the Pillars portfolio, and I knew that we were going to be able to start developing a deeper relationship, and I didn't want to be seen as to be going easy on you, which is perhaps why I tried to throw some curveballs. But I mean, you've made it quite hard with the great responses and the full transparency. Which is great. So thank you very much. It's also one of the reasons why we've never said here within the community, go and buy the token. It's not something that you're going to hear from us. And I'm sure you're going to appreciate that. We support the person behind the token. We support you because you are the person that sits behind LiquiShare. And we trust you in the same way your deeper circle of friends trust you, and colleagues and people that you've met in this space. So if anybody takes anything away from this, we're not saying buy it. By all means, take a look, absolutely jump into the space, have a conversation, but know that we are having a Pillars portfolio partner come in because we believe what they're going to be doing this bull run could be absolutely massive, as you've said. So thank you. It's been almost an hour now, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. But Rick, thank you very much for coming in and talking. Thank you very much for being part of the Pillars portfolio. We'll send out an announcement, give some more details, and as you can now boast, at least 1% of the supply is locked up and isn't going to be dumped. And, you know, that can perhaps put people at ease. One last question, or maybe two last questions before I let you go. Why BSC? That's going to be a question that's going to crop up. Is there a reason why you chose that chain?
Yeah. Number one, the contracts are far too robust for ETH. They just can't happen on ETH, right? So it had to be a chain that had some solid volume, which BSC has the most volume outside of ETH. So that was important to me. And then also a reasonable gas fees. So I would love to launch on Sol. My devs have not launched. They don't feel confident in the utility stuff. If you notice, Sol is a meme graveyard. That's all it is meme. There's a ton of volume there, but nobody can build anything worth value yet. So keep your eye on that. My lead dev comes back for military deployment here in April, so that's when I'm going to put him full time on becoming an expert at that. So you know, maybe there's something down the line for that. Outside of that, there's what arbitrage. There's there's AVAX. All these other chains were possibilities, and I put a community vote out there from all the private sailors and said, you guys pick. And so BSC won by a pretty considerable amount, just simply based on the amount of volume and the comfort with the chain, knowing it's not going to go down, right? We see that with a lot of these newer, smaller chains like Base right now. I mean, man, it's just laggy all the time and just little things like that. So while it felt weird to launch another project on BSC, I'll be honest, right? I mean, it felt like, man, what year am I in? This is weird that I'm launching a project on BSC. But there's no denying the volume on BSC, and the gas fees were reasonable with the contracts that we have. So, you know, that's really where it came from.
Right. Okay. Before I ask my last question, I'll say thank you one more time. If anybody wants to ask questions, I'm sure there's going to be questions around what future utility LiquiShare might have. I'm sure there's going to be questions around whether or not, you know, in its current form, is it maybe a play on a meme token, and what does that mean for the community? But if I've read between the lines and listened to what you've been saying, what you're saying is it isn't just about the token itself and launching a token that flies high. It's about creating a community that surrounds that token with a bigger picture in mind. But I'll let you speak for yourself when people ask those questions. My last question, favorite beer. I know you've got one in your hand at the moment, but what's your favorite beer of choice?
Oh man, that depends on what I'm eating or what the mood is. But
Steak.
if I had to
Friday night, hot weather.
Friday night, hot weather, I'm going to go with a Dos Equis lager.
A Dos Equis lager. Okay, I'm going to look that one up and see if I can find it here. Rick, it's been a real pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for coming in. I'll let you go. I look forward to doing this again. Let's have a catch up at some point next month, see where you're at, see how things are going, and just, get people talking more about LiquiShare. And as we've just said, people are going to be able to earn LiquiShare within or through the Pillars portfolio just through engaging with us. Like you, we've created a community that we want that's vibrant. So just by talking to us here, discussing projects, talking about tokenomics, you earn points and you'll get a share of the Pillars portfolio, which includes LiquiShare. We'll run the giveaway now. We did say that we were going to put the giveaway behind X amount of listeners, and we didn't hit all of the listeners for the full amount. So people might be wondering what would happen to those tokens. And Rick agreed prior to the AMA that whatever tokens are not given away also get put into the Pillars portfolio. So they too are locked. Rick, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much. I look forward to doing this again soon.
Likewise, thank you guys so much for having me. I really, really appreciate you, and I will be back.
Thank you, guys. Take care.